it's also a really good sign of healing. It's a really good sign of healing and growing. I just finished I think it's Pia Melody. Is that her last name? Is it Pia Melody?
Yeah,
Because I
yeah.
got Pia Melody and Melody Beatty. And so I'm like,
No, I think
is
Pia
it a
Melody.
before and after Wheel of Fortune name? Or I think that's it. I just finished one of her codependent books, and she said something that was so profound for me. And I didn't know we were going to talk about it, so the quote's not going to be, accurate.
Yeah.
But she was talking about it, and she talked about a lot of things, a lot of abuse. It's a tough book. It's a tough book where it's like really looking at behaviors you experienced, maybe behaviors that you've continued on. We're getting real with ourselves and our experiences book. That it was good, but there was this part that hit because I feel regressed. I feel a lot. I'm like, why am I acting like this? Why am I like, what's wrong with me? Like, come on, now that I'm safer, I'm acting like a child. Now that I'm safer, like I'm reactive, and I'm feeling like you don't love me, you don't want to spend attention, all of these things that are coming up, behaviors that make me sick. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Knock that shit off. That kind of sounds like a different voice, right? But also learning new things, learning this stuff. And so the stuff that's coming to you in the middle of the night and feeling like that's how you would explain it to a child and the grown-ass man, it came, like, I'm circling back. She was talking about how these behaviors are coming up in her space now, where she never acted like this before. But now that she's healing this, she's looking at this, she's catching herself acting like a child in this sense. And instead of like berating or being mean, she's like, oh, it's because I'm learning it. That's how your brain, like, I never got to act like this as a child. So now I'm literally going through the steps. You can't skip all the steps when you didn't learn something. You have to learn how to do it with the steps. You don't just, like the saying goes, you just don't go from, being immobile to running a marathon. There's so many steps. So when you're starting to recognize the parts of you that are learning, these little things that are coming on, like this awareness that you hadn't been able to contextualize, but yeah, you've heard it before and you're seeing it. That's like you're feeling safe enough. You're healing, you're learning, you're bringing those parts out that got skipped over, and they're like coming online. It's a really cool thing. It's not I'm a grown ass man. It's like, oh, hell yeah. Here we go.
I'm so glad that you're bringing this up. I wanted to, the reason I'm going to my phone is because I got to pull up the episode. I listened to a recent episode of We Can Do Hard Things, and I wanted to make sure and get the guest name who was on it. Prentice Hemphill. It's a recent episode of We Can Do Hard Things. Go listen to it.
Go listen to it? Okay.
And she was talking about so as a child, we taught ourselves all of these coping mechanisms, right? So we learned both by seeing, and also we had to figure stuff out, right? So we taught ourselves all of these kind of maladaptive coping mechanisms from childhood that we had to survive. We can teach ourselves now new things.
Yes.
So like, I love that you're describing it this way because, and then that voice that we have, right? Mine was, I'm a grown ass man. I should know this shit already. And yours was, what was yours? Because you commented on it. That sounded like somebody else's voice. Do you remember what you said?
I don't remember what I said.
Well, all that negative self-talk, right?
Yeah.
All that part of us that's like,
Yeah.
man, I'm so stupid. Obviously our nervous system is affected by weather, right? Our body goes outside and gets hot, and that's going to make us feel bad. That makes sense. And there's a part of me that is putting those pieces together like I am a child. And I'm teaching my child, hey, bud, this happens, and you can control that. You're like, a lot of this healing that I feel like you and I are both in right now, I know for me specifically, it's this recognition of, wait a minute, I can do things, right? I have control of this. This is up to me. Not in oh my God, it's all up to me and I don't know what I'm going to do now and I'm going to freeze. But it's like, oh, I can fucking fix this. Even from like the awareness of like, yeah, I don't like that person. I don't have to interact with that person. That person doesn't have to be in my life. That is not an option as a child.
Yeah.
right? That's just simply not an option as a child, to where it's like, hey, I don't like this person. Sucks to be you, kid. You got to deal with that.
Yeah.
Right.
On top of that, not only do you have to deal with that, go give him a hug.
Right.
Quit being like that. Go give him a hug.
So much of what's happening, I feel like, for me right now is getting the opportunity to take this intellectual understanding of like the human experience, that, yeah, there's a part of my brain that is very like, I'm smart, I'm an intelligent person, I understand things, but then I almost have to break it down in these little bite-sized chunks of exactly how I would explain it to my 5-year-old, right? That 5-year-old little boy that's inside of me that's like, hey, you're talking about, like, every time we talk about nervous system and you throw out sympathetic and parasympathetic, my 44, how old am I, 43? My 43-year-old brain does not remember what those are. I don't understand those words. I know that those words describe activated or at rest, right? Your nervous system nice and calm, or your nervous system activated. I can never remember which one they are. So I don't use those terms because I can't remember which ones they are. But what my little 5-year-old understands is like, hey, buddy, you know when you're hot? Yeah, it's hot outside, right? And you know how good it feels to come inside and get some fresh water? Like, yeah, that feels so good. Yeah, that's you connected to your body and connected to your nervous system and taking steps to regulate it.
Yes.
And you get to do that. You get to make those decisions for yourself. You have the ability to do that. And at this point in my life, right, I get to do it all. I have control over everything in my life. I can decide what I want and what I don't want. I can decide how I'm going to feel about things, or what things I'm going to feel about. There's certain things that I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to feel that right now. And I don't mean it in a passive way. I don't mean it in an avoidance way. But I'm trying to think of an example, because there's certain things where, like, I could get all really hot and bothered and worked up about something that I might normally have in the past. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm not going to worry about that right now. That's not something that I need to worry about. That's not something that I need to spend energy on. That's not something that I need to allow into my space, because I know that that will dysregulate me. I know that my nervous system will go haywire if I go and experience or think about or deal with that stuff, or even just let that stuff into my life, right?
We were meant to be.